Hi everyone, welcome to episode 6 of my dev diary for Project Husky. In this sprint I expanded the game world, made improvements to the processing that occurs when creatures die, and changed how the regions of the game are loaded. One of the big changes this sprint was doing a first pass on the forest map. The first public release of Project Husky will be in the form of a demo. This will cover the early part of the game and will serve a few purposes: getting player feedback on some of the game fundamentals, getting more people interested in the project as a whole, and giving me a manageable development target to aim for in the short term. The goal is to get an end-to-end playable experience of the demo finished with temporary graphics, and then go through multiple improvement passes, adding proper models, lighting effects, and sounds and music, before finally releasing the demo into the wild, then expanding on that to complete the game. During the sprint I fleshed out most of the story elements that will be covered by the demo, and began writing some dialogue for some of the cutscenes and player interactions. The player starts in a village and will leave to explore the surrounding grasslands and eventually navigate a dark forest. I've talked a bit about the village and grassland regions in previous videos, but I've been neglecting the forest region. I had a vague notion of what it should look like, accompanied by a few sketches in my notebook, but nothing concrete. This sprint I decided to do something about that, and spent a few evenings putting together the layout of the major points of interest. I'd originally intended for the only entry to the forest to be from the grasslands to the north, but I realised that the plot point that drives the player to the forest would require a more direct route, so I extended the river to the south and added a river crossing to allow access from the west. Overall, I'm happier with how it's looking compared to the other two regions, but it still needs a lot of work. In my last video I mentioned that I'd added the ability for the player to kill creatures, but they would just disappear from existence the moment their health is reduced to 0. This sprint I added the ability for the creature to spawn a few health orbs and then slowly fade away. It's only a small improvement, but my development process is all about making small incremental improvements frequently, as opposed to a single massive change every few months. It means each individual update isn't as impressive, but hopefully it demonstrates that progress is being made each week. I also redesigned how the game world is loaded. In my very first dev diary, I discussed how I'd implemented a system for loading game regions dynamically using scenes. Unity doesn't like it when there are multiple scenes loaded at once, though I did manage to get it kind of working. I received some feedback and it was suggested that it might be better to implement the regions as prefabs instead. It didn't take very long to convert each scene to a prefab, and change the dynamic loading script to instantiate the prefabs instead. A side effect of this change is that I could finally get rid of those lighting setup errors that would appear in the log. I'd also intended to create the next iteration of my AI design, which uses a finite state machine and a command queue, but I ran out of time, so that will be pushed into the next sprint instead. That's it for this fortnight. In the next sprint I plan to implement the AI improvements, and investigate Cine Machine as a potential replacement for my camera system. See you next time.